Welcome aboard and thank you for joining me today. Mochi Man here with my One Piece battle prediction that Yamato will fight Jack. This is a match that I rarely hear people talk about, but I believe there is a high chance of it happening for a number of reasons. Now, on with the video. To explain the battle between these two apprentices, I will first explain what a pirate apprentice is. Pirate apprentices are child pirates who live the pirate life from a young age and use the experience they've gathered to become powerful pirates when they become adults. These apprentices are usually 16 and under, as seen from Shanks' remark at Luffy wanting to join him that he wouldn't even consider him until at least 10 years, which would put him at 17. Pirate apprentices are based on cabin boys who were children who would work on pirate crews, mostly as errand boys and cleaners, as they weren't strong enough to be involved in raids. These cabin boys would normally be between 13 and 16, but some of them were as young as 8. The only cabin boy we see in One Piece is Kobe at the start of the series when he is forced to be Alvida's cabin boy. Pirate apprentices, on the other hand, are trained up from a young age in battle and will be involved in raids like the adults. There are 3 main routes a pirate apprentice will take when they transition from child to adult. The first being that they will leave the nest and become a powerful pirate captain in their own right. In fact, 3 out of the 4 emperors were once apprentices on a previous pirate ship. Shanks was an apprentice under Roger, Kaido was an apprentice under Rocks, and Blackbeard was an apprentice under Whitebeard. The second category is the apprentices which are happy to stay on the same ship and will raise up the ranks to become senior commanders later on. Marco and Jozu are good examples of this, as they stayed with the Whitebeard pirates to later become the 1st and 3rd division commanders. The third category are apprentices which are specifically chosen to one day succeed their captain or to be groomed into the captain's right hand. We can see the succession process in the Big Mom Pirates as they are a family, and there is a current feud on succession between the oldest member, Perospero, and the strongest member, Katakuri. An example of a person that groomed an apprentice up to be their right hand can be seen in Doflamingo when he wanted Law to become his right hand, as he saw potential in him from the amount of hatred in his eyes at such a young age, which reminded him of himself when he was a kid. In these categories, I would place Jack in category 2 as he joined early on and stuck with the crew. And I see Yamato as a category 3 as she is Kaido's child, and I believe that Kaido was raising her up to become his successor. However, one big difference between these apprentices is that Yamato hates Kaido and will not cooperate with him. Yamato saw Oden's execution when she was a kid, and the life of Oden brought tears to her eyes, making her want to be like Oden, which Kaido didn't like, so he controlled her with fear and attached exploding handcuffs to her so she couldn't escape. Because of those handcuffs, Yamato was stuck on Onigashima for the last 20 years with no way of escape. While on Onigashima, Kaido still wanted her to become his successor and taught Yamato his fighting style. Yamato used the training that she got to become stronger, and she challenged Kaido many times, but was defeated every time. Yamato is also given the duty of protecting Onigashima while Kaido is away. Yamato states that she has no obligation to protect this island, however, it is still her home, so she would rather it not be destroyed. She also takes on invaders out of boredom and to give herself a new challenge now and then, and that is how she meets Ace. And he reminds her of her dream to leave Wano and live free like Oden. Despite Yamato's defiance, Kaido would still go on to name Yamato as a successor as the new shogun of New Onigashima after he leaves, which she is not happy about. Especially after finding out the explosive cuffs were indeed real, meaning that Kaido had planned on killing his child if she chose to leave. Jack, on the other hand, has a lot of respect for Kaido, as seen by the way that he refers to him as Master Kaido. I believe that Jack was discriminated against for being a fisherman when he was a child, and that is the reason why he wears a mask that covers his mouth to hide that fact. I believe that his past is similar to that of Kawamatsu, where him and his mother, or maybe another family member, are attacked by humans. But while Kawamatsu ran after losing that family member, Jack flies into a rage and savagely beats the humans that attacked him. This is when Kaido sees him and is impressed by the child's savage nature and offers him a place on his crew, and more importantly, a place to call home. From that point on, Jack saw Kaido like an adoptive father who he wanted to be just like, as seen by the fact they have a very similar appearance. They both share a large frame and both sport large white horns. Kaido's horns seem to be real, however Jack seemed to come out of a metal attachment on the side of his head, making it look as though he is wearing them to make himself appear more like Kaido. Jack is confirmed to have been with the Beast Pirates since he was at least the age of 8, as he is seen with King and Queen at the burning of Kuri Castle. However, I don't think he was yet a high-ranking member, as King and Queen were the only other notable pirates other than Kaido that were present during the battle against Oden and the Red Scabbard. With hard work and determination, Jack would climb up the ranks of the Beast Pirates to be one of Kaido's lead performers and one of his 3 calamities, along with King and Queen, who he also respects and sees like his older brothers. The attitude that Jack has in the series is similar to that of a child who wants to impress their parent. He is a very reactive character who will jump into any situation which might impact Kaido. Jack was first mentioned back at Punk Hazard after Caesar's defeat was broadcasted, meaning that if Jack wasn't busy on Zou, he might have actually been a part of the Dressrosa arc, which would have been quite interesting. He fought for 5 days straight without any rest for his mission to capture Raizo. He then left Zou to attempt a daring rescue of Doflamingo and battled the former Fleet Admiral Sengoku and the current Admiral Fujitora. He then attacked Zunisha with a fleet of battleships rather than climbing back up to raid them again. He was the calamity of Kuri and would destroy any town that messed with one of his headliners. He came to Bakura town incredibly fast after Holden's defeat in search of Luffy, and one of his most recent actions came after Kaido went up to the rooftop with the Scabbards for their fight, and Jack immediately mobilized his forces and backed up his captain. The speed he acted in actually surprises King and Queen. Jack would go on to fight and defeat the army of Sulong Minks, which included some of their strongest warriors, including the Guardians and the Musketeers. However, Jack would later be swiftly defeated by the Sulong, Nekomamushi and Inuarashi. But Jack's hard work did not go unnoticed by Kaido, and as soon as Jack went down, Kaido came between them to protect him. Kaido said he would not allow one of his best men to be killed in front of him, and while Jack was ashamed of himself for his loss, Kaido reassured him, saying that losing that battle doesn't mean he's weak, it was just that his enemy was too strong. And Kaido does praise him for taking out the Sulong army and tells him to leave the battlefield so he can take care of his wounds. Because of the two vastly different viewpoints over their shared captain, this could easily cause tensions to rise between the two characters, but it might not have always been that way. I can see a past where Yamato, being the only child on Onigashima, would see Jack as the only person that she could talk to, because they're the same age. However, I see Jack being not interested in making friends with her, as all he cares about is impressing Kaido. Over time, I can see Jack growing resentful towards Yamato. Kaido personally teaches her his fighting style, and he even plans on making her his successor to his empire. But after all of that, she still hates him and would rather act like his sworn enemy. To Jack, she comes across as a sport brat, as he had to work for his position in the crew, but he wouldn't be allowed to kill her, as that would anger Kaido. That is until he finds out that she is a traitor and he would be free to let out all of his pent-up frustration. Another factor to consider is the fact that Jack is currently back up again and is heading towards the treasure room to kill the samurai that are barely hanging on after their fight with Kaido. Specifically wanting revenge on Nekomamushi and Inuarashi for his previous defeat, and also Raizo that represents his former failure at Zou. Yamato is also back on the move again, and I could see her standing between Jack and the samurai, as the Red Scabbards are her heroes, as they are also followers of Oden. Another motivator for Jack to fight Yamato comes from the fact that she is with Momonosuke. If he can kill Momonosuke and destroy the will of the enemy, that would get a lot of recognition. So Jack has three main reasons to fight Yamato. The first being that she's a traitor who he would want to kill for personal reasons. The second being that after taking her out, that would allow him to then kill Momonosuke and break the enemy army's spirit. And then finally, with her out of the way, he will be able to kill the samurai, which are the main native fighting force of Wano.
Yamato and Jack have clear motivations to fight each other. An inherited will to fight from the men that they respect. Yamato will fight to protect the last members of the Kozuki like Oden would, and Jack wants to destroy the last remnants of the Kozuki like Kaido would, carrying on the battle between Kaido and Oden which started in the past, making their clash something that was destined to happen.
So at this point you may ask, well, what about Sanji? Sanji's going to go protect samurai, so he will fight Jack, right? While I could see maybe a light skirmish between them, I think Sanji's main opponent will be Queen, and here's why. Currently, King and Queen are fighting Marco. However, Queen still has a bone to pick with Chopper, as Chopper is currently producing an antidote for Queen's ice-only virus, and as soon as Chopper re-emerges on the battlefield, Queen will attack him, which will cause Chopper to have to go to Monster Point to protect himself, and also to maybe get in a hit to damage Queen, due to the fact that he is angry at him for using a biological weapon against people, including his own subordinates. Turning Monster Point will mean that he will roar, alerting any near Straw Hat that he's getting serious. Plus, it'll be awesome to see Monster Point Chopper with the ice-only virus to make him look even more monstrous. However, Queen will overpower Chopper in his zone form, and will attempt to finish off Chopper to make sure that the ice-only virus isn't cured. And then at the last second, Sanji will come in and save Chopper, and thus begins the fight with Sanji versus Queen. The reason I believe this series of events will happen is because a similar set of events has happened in the past. At Enies Lobby, Sanji was placed in a fight with Kaifer, which was a fight he couldn't win due to his chivalry of not hitting women, and because of this he is defeated. Nami, a female member of the crew, steps in to fight her in Sanji's place. Later on, Usopp, one of the weaker members of the crew, is about to be killed by the third strongest on the enemy's side, Jabra. And then at the last second, Sanji comes in with the save, and thus began the fight with Sanji versus Jabra. In this situation, Sanji was placed against Black Maria, a female that he couldn't beat due to his chivalry, and is badly beaten. Robin, a female member of the Straw Hats, helps Sanji and fights Black Maria in his place. Chopper, one of the weaker members of the crew, is about to be killed by the third strongest on the enemy's side, Queen. Then at the last second, Sanji will come in with the save and then start the fight with Sanji versus Queen.
That only leaves Yamato to fight Jack to protect the samurai. And from a battle perspective, I can see this fight being very interesting, specifically because of Jack's battle experience under Kaido for the last 20 plus years. From fighting with Kaido on the battlefield and potentially sparring with him to test his strength, Jack would have an extensive knowledge of Kaido's techniques, and when it comes to this battle, specifically his club-based techniques.
I can see a situation where Yamato will throw out an attack and Jack will know what's coming just from looking at the move's startup and will deflect the blow before it makes contact and will hit back with a strong counter, turning the table on Yamato and putting the fight in his favour.
I can also see Jack straight up tanking one of Yamato's attacks just to insult her, to say she is nothing like Kaido and her attacks are too weak. Similar to Ulti's sick burn. Thunder Bagua? Pfft, more like Blunder Bagua. Oh! Yamato will shoot back and say that she doesn't want to be anything like Kaido. I am Yamato and I will be the next Kazuki Oden. Then she will throw out one of her original moves, similar to that of her Naribakura arrow. And that will catch Jack off guard and damage him in the process.
And the fight will end with Yamato smashing Jack with her version of Oden's signature move, the Paradise Totsuka. And that will destroy Jack's defences, shattering his swords and knocking him out for good. So in the battle between the Apprentices and the second coming of Oden vs Kaido, Yamato, the inheritor of Oden's will defeat Jack, the inheritor of Kaido's will.
And that is my theory. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please consider subscribing to support this channel and to be updated on new videos. This has been a theory I've wanted to make for a while, and I was really nervous that it might get revealed in manga before I got a chance to put it out, so I'm glad to finally have it finished. If you're interested in seeing more of my content, please check out my first theory video on Robin's sacrifice. And if you'd like to see my first comparison video, check out my 10 similarities between Strong-Willed and Wano. I'm still new to this and I still have a long ways to go, but I'd like to improve and get better at making content, and I'd like to give back to this amazing series which means so much to me. So please come on board and join me on this journey, and let's see what is beyond the next horizon. Thanks for watching.